So if you will, would you please turn all silent? Please turn all cell phones to the silent position. And so you guys are not going to cause me to be on record saying the wrong thing. Again, thank you so much. And so, Ms. James, if you will, go ahead and call our meeting to order, and then we'll ask you to please call the roll of the council.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Linda J. Davis.
Present.
Honorable Pat Pallin.
Present.
Honorable Alex Heath.
Present.
Honorable Ulysses J. Smallwood.
Present.
The Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
The Honorable James Whitmore. Mayor will be late.
Okay.
Honorable Alex Heath. Did I call you?
Present.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. City Administrator, will you want to go to the first item?
The first item is the school zone speed detection cameras, and that's going to be by the police.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here tonight just to give you guys a presentation on a project we're working on. Speeding is a regular concern for the police department. We do get a lot of calls about it from many areas within the city. As you're probably aware, the state of Georgia passed a law a few years ago that made speed zone cameras specifically for school zone a reality. So we're here today with Blue Line Solutions to talk about a speed study we did here in the city at 3 of our schools, as well as just a little background. So again, speeding is an issue that we are concerned with. Just 5 days ago, a child was hit and killed by a car in our neighboring jurisdiction in South Fulton. So it's something we are concerned about, and we want to make sure we're taking care of our school zones. You have the, there it is. Well, let me just kind of start going through it. This was a 5-day speed study conducted from August 14th through August the 18th at 3 locations: the Bedford School, Landmark Christian School on East Broad Street, and Campbell Elementary School, Elder Street. So just kind of going through the numbers here. Bedford School, during the 5-day period, had 16,944 vehicles pass through the speed detection camera. Of those, you had 5,570 speeders who were going 11 over or more through the school zone, 520 speeders going 21 or more over the speed limit through the school zone. Landmark Christian School, vehicle count 7,471. Of those, you had 1,252 speeders going 11 or more over the posted speed limit, and 174 going 21 or more over the posted speed limit. Finally, Campbell Elementary School, vehicle count 4,649. Of those, 510 were speeding 11 or more over the speed limit, and 15 were going 21 or more over the posted speed limit. In total, there were 7,332 speeding violations of 11 or more during the 5-day period. So these cameras, I believe, will help to dramatically curb the speeding through our school zones. I'm going to introduce Mr. Ryan Moore with Blue Line Solutions in just a moment, and he estimated that these cameras can eliminate approximately 90% of the speeders. I want to be just real clear, we're trying to change behavior. We are trying to stop people from speeding past our kids in their schools as they're coming and going from school. So with that, Mr. Ryan Moore, Blue Line Solutions.
Like Chief said, I'm with Blue Line Solutions. My background's in law enforcement. I was an accident reconstructionist and a motor officer. Even though I'm so tall, it was hard to ride a motorcycle. I was a motor officer. So the program in South Fulton that we had, the first 30 days before a hard ticket was written, you get 30 days of warning. We cut their speeding down 82% with 18,000 fewer cars than the first 30 days before a hard ticket was written. So with our program, there's 3 components to our program strategy. Number 1 is public information. We want everybody to know what's coming. We have 5x7 note cards that we can send out, press release templates. We also have a public information person. She's a former Savannah, Georgia Police Department, where we have our stuff in Savannah. So we want to educate everybody, right? We want everybody to know what's coming. So we go above and beyond. Georgia state law states that you have to have a 25 mile an hour or 15, whatever the posted speed limit, flashing lights, photo enforced sign, right? So you got your flashing lights and your photo enforced sign. So you got two warnings. We believe in putting an extra layer of security, if you will. So we put a radar feedback sign in each end of the school zone. So you have 3 warnings before you go through the school zone. And depending on where GDOT lets us put because we have to do an engineering traffic investigation. And let me say, you guys will never be responsible for my bill from Blue Line. Everything is taken care of through us. The only cost you would incur is if we can't use solar, the price would be of the electricity for the camera unit. I think it's about $20 a month, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we have the radar feedback sign. It says your speed is photo enforced. Then you have between 300 and 600 feet before you drive through the laser. And it's a single laser beam. It's not these were done by radar boxes, so we're missing some cars because it's going to send out a signal and here for the beep to come back. But this is a single beam laser. So education, we want everybody to know what's going on. And then the enforcement period, you have 30 days of warning. And then after that 30 days, then at 11 over, the citations will be issued. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Does anyone of the council have any questions about this item? Go ahead, Ms. Jones. Excuse me.
I think I have a couple. First thing to Captain Bazzillo, have we had a lot of tickets in reference to the school districts, these 3 schools?
So we don't have I don't have it available for you tonight. I can't get it for you. How many tickets have been issued in those specific areas?
Yeah.
We do a lot of traffic enforcement in Fairburn, up above 1,000 each month. I will also use this opportunity to say we consistently write more warnings than tickets, which again, I think the public needs to know. But I will get those numbers for you as to these specific zones, kind of history year to date.
Okay, so with the warnings, do you see a change in behavior?
You can I think in the short term, certainly. I think changing behavior when it comes to driving has a lot to do with experiences, and you're getting an experience either way. The ticket comes with a penalty, of course, and a warning can be a positive way for the police department to curb bad behavior, speeding, and have what ends up being a positive interaction with a member of the community. So I do think warnings are a good thing. But again, you've also got some folks that just don't want to slow down, which is why if you guys get on, I-85 or any of the larger highways and put your cruise control on the speed limit, the story tells itself.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could, what I would add to that is the traffic study that they did in advance of bringing this to the work session. Mm-hmm. I'm just glancing at the one that is for the Bedford School. Between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., of the 2,662 cars that went through that intersection, 56.8% of them were speeding.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., of the 4,400 cars that went through, 57.3% of those were speeding. So as it relates to is it affecting behavior, I'm sure it is for some individual drivers. But in the aggregate, when you look at the numbers as a whole, it seems to suggest over half the drivers that are going through the school zone are in XSS. I'm reading those numbers correctly?
Yes, sir.
Of the speed limit.
Wait, I was just speaking to the captain in reference to what his experience has been prior to these numbers. Okay. I see these numbers, but I was just talking about what was the effect on the behavior with warning signs. So I haven't gotten to this part yet. And I just wanted to know that, Deputy Bazzillo, and in your recommendation, is there a need for additional opportunities to change behaviors of drivers?
Yes, absolutely. That's why a program like this, as Mr. Moore said, there's no cost to the city. We can get these in place, and on average, 80 to 90% reduction in speeders, that is the goal. We want to keep the kids safe and reduce the number of speeders. And again, they'll have the flashing yellow light, visible signal that people are going to know, hey, there's a camera up here and it's going to send you a ticket. So if you're choosing to speed past that flashing yellow light, at that point, then a warning would not be for you.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Moore, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What are some of the negatives in reference to cameras or the inconveniences? In reference to, I know sometimes when I go through an area and the light is flashing and I'm not even in the speed zone of the speed that they're trying to get you to get to, you don't know whether you're being ticketed, you don't know what all those flashing lights mean, you don't know have they captured you before you got into the 40 miles per hour speed. So how will these lights or these cameras, will they be clear to the resident that's driving?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, and I want to throw a tidbit in here. Last year in the state of Georgia, 22-23 school year, in all the jurisdictions, the cities and counties, we cut speeding down in the school zones 94.9%. So we put an extra layer. The state law doesn't dictate that we put that sign up. That sign is just to let you know to slow down, and you still have between 300 and 600 feet. The camera's gonna be 14 foot tall, okay, and it's gonna have a single laser beam on the ground. And when you drive through that laser beam, when you get to the camera, you're still gonna have 85 more feet to slow down.
To slow down, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So that's why we wanna educate everyone with entering a school zone. We're wanting to change the habits of the drivers. I mean, that's, when you get a program, if we can cut your numbers down 90 to 95%, hey, it's an effective program. It's
Right,
very
right.
effective because people are gonna say, hey, I've got to slow down because I know this is here.
Absolutely. And I do understand that that is a problem, and we do need to make sure that drivers pay attention and that they are in a school zone. But I just wanted to make sure what the mechanics were about, and if it's confusing, if it's clear. And what is your approach in educating the public? How are you going to do that?
Like I said, we have stuff from NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety. We have a public information person. That's all she does every time. Just for instance, every time we get ready to open a new school zone in Savannah, because it's broad, they have a lot of school zones. You have the news come out. You have a press conference with the bus shed. We don't want to be, we're in the back, but we want to have her out front showing this is what the statistics. I mean, if a child gets hit by a car doing 15 miles an hour, they have a 90% chance of survival. If the child gets hit by a car doing 30 miles an hour, they have about a 10% chance of survival. So we want to educate everybody.
Right,
You know, I'm very passionate about this. My job at the police department, I was an accident reconstructionist, so I went out and saw the worst of the worst all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we can be proactive here instead of reactive.
Okay.
And that's the name of the game,
Okay.
proactive.
Thank you.
Mr. Smallwood.
And I can just say, from experience, because I worked at, did you all install the one at Seaborn Lee Elementary School?
Yes.
Yes. So I worked there for about 2 to 3 years after you guys put it up. And yes, our behavior was changed, because even us as staff, and because like I can chime in a little bit, because I saw how it worked. You have that sign. So if you're turning off of road where the Coca-Cola factory was onto Scarborough, you had that sign that let you know. And so then we were able to bring it down. And then before we hit it, we were able to, slow down. But behavior was drastically changed because, yes, you did get that ticket. City of South Fulton did, like you said, warned a lot of people at first. Thankfully, I never got it. But even, it was amazing, even because I rode the buses too, that was part of my duty, bus drivers were getting ticketed as well, and that was affecting their job. They would have to go on like a little, plan, to remedy that situation. But yeah, and then as far as us as staff too, we educated each other as well too. Hey, slow down, because you're gonna get that warning and then the ticket. So it was good. And I think Randolph Elementary too is where that first one went up. Yep.
Okay. Ms. Jones.
Thank you for the presentation. I originally had a question regarding the 16,000 number, but now I understand that was in total, right, of all schools for the entire week.
No,
It was on the-
16,000
No, that
was,
was Bedford School.
that was Bedford School only. That's how many cars came through from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon.
That's just on the road.
Just the one school. Yes, ma'am.
Really?
And 5,570 were speeding.
Yes. Okay, so that is good, because, well, that is that traffic count is huge. And that's quite alarming, that many cars come that way by the school. But thanks for clarifying that. Secondly, I know that speeding has been an issue and challenge at Campbell Elementary, that we've received numerous complaints regarding speeding. And so I think this is, we do need to change behavior. And there's a South Fulton School over by me where I live, and actually I go through 2 different school zones for speeding. And I had to change my behavior regarding that as well. Initially, the public relations is going to be a nightmare. I mean, because people are just not gonna like it, right, when they get the ticket. But I'm glad to know that you have a public information officer that will do the communication. And am I correct that you will also be sending out mailers?
Yes, ma'am. We
Okay.
can do it as large as you guys want to. If you have city services such as water or electric, we can send out flyers that way. We can send stuff home with a bus. Our person, when we get closer, we'll get with the chief and his public information person, and that's when we'll distribute the information that way.
Okay, all right, so, and this may be premature, but could you talk a little bit about our relationship, the city's relationship with this company? Are we contracting with them to do this? And the revenue that's generated, how does that all work? I'm just unfamiliar with that part of the process.
So when a ticket, I'm going to jump on the revenue question
Okay.
first. If a ticket is issued, and let me say this too, every ticket is reviewed by a Fairburn police officer if we were to move forward with this program. So of every ticket issued, Blue Line Solutions, of course, gets a partial amount of that payment once it is paid to through the system, and then that's how they operate. That's how they are able to provide all this to the city. In terms of our relationship with them, I believe there's a contract that we would talk about. What's the term of it?
We asked for a 2-year contract. It costs us $75,000 per school zone to erect the stuff and run it and maintain it.
Okay, also that includes the camera, the flashing light, and the warnings? Uh-huh.
The radar feedback sign,
Okay.
the signs, and we go as far as to, and that's a good point too. So if you have a side street like you were talking about, we would put on a sign, photo enforced, and they're 24 inches wide, 30 inches long. So you know that that's coming. Yep, that includes the LiDAR. We take care of all the maintenance, the certification on it. We have a CNOC room in Chattanooga, and a couple years ago, Jefferson, Georgia, I was mowing the yard for the school, and he hit the base, kind of made the camera go off kilter. So we knew it before they did, and we were out within 24 hours to have that remedy. But yes, we take care of all the equipment.
Okay, and then how are fees set?
That is
The state says the fees,
state of Georgia, as part of the law that was passed.
Okay,
and it is a civil issue, so there's no points against your driver's license. It does not affect your insurance. It's a civil issue.
okay, it does not affect your driver's license?
Yeah.
Okay,
But Georgia has written into the law, you have 60 days to pay the citation. The first one is $100. The second one is $150. Second and to infinity is $150. So if you don't pay the first citation within 60 days, we send out a second notice. And you have 30 days to to satisfy the citation. If you don't satisfy it within 30 days, you have 90 days. Then it goes to the Department of Revenue, and they put a hold on your renewing your license plate and/or your car title.
Okay.
So it's still all civil issue, and you do have the right to come to court. You know, and we don't want to take anybody's Fourth Amendment rights, so we have a court liaison that works with the city clerk. So
Okay, so if you're now in the system, and the system is your system, is that correct? And do we have access to that information as well through our police department?
So ma'am, every citation that comes through, we or our people or processors, they run the tag on the car. There's a couple pictures where the laser measured the car speed, a short 1-second video, and we will send all that through email, and they will log on to secure site and see every citation that's come through. Then at the end of every month, by the 15th, you'll have a report, how many cars come through, how many paid, how many were speeding. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before you speak, Ms. Chris, Chief, and this also might be, you may need to answer this as well, Attorney Starkey. My question is, I'm in the system, but I haven't paid this ticket, right? But you stopped me for something else. Is that information accessible to you when you run my tag? And if it is, what impact does that have on me relative to the issue you stopped me for, and or because I haven't paid that ticket, I am now in violation of, you know, whatever, and is there a warrant for my arrest? I mean, that's an extreme, but I'm just wondering, what are the consequences?
I
know, that's right.
It's a great question. And the simple answer is no.
Okay.
When a police officer pulls somebody over on a regular, let's say you're speeding, he gets you on the laser. He's going to run you through GCIC, which is connected to NCIC. We can check you nationwide through all 50 states.
Okay, acronyms, please.
I'm sorry,
National
the
and-
Georgia Crime Information Center.
Okay.
With the driver's history and criminal history.
Okay.
And the officer may also have the option to check you through our report system to see, hey, have Fairburn, encountered this person before, when, and for what? But that is our system that the police department maintains. Anything with this system is not going to be interconnected with either GCIC or Fairburn's report system.
Okay, and what are the consequences if I don't pay the ticket at all, given the number of days that I'm allowed to pay?
You will not be able to renew your license plate.
Okay, okay.
And then if you don't renew your license plate,
You got other
then you
issues to
got
deal
other
with,
issues
right?
with the police department,
Yes,
not us.
okay, okay.
Ms. Chris, can you go ahead and interject?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Just wanted to provide a few points of clarity. State law mandates that any revenue collected must be used for police law enforcement purposes. We are in discussions with Chief Bazillo and the rest of the command staff in reference to if we do roll this program out, how will those funds be utilized? There's been thoughts to make donations to the school each year, whether it's through backpack giveaways and supplies. That way we're helping the schools in which these school cameras are placed. And so that's still under discussion, so we'll have further information should this program roll out. And you all explained if someone gets a citation, you do have 30 days, I believe, to contest that citation. You would contact Blue Line Solutions to let them know that you want to contest it, and then they would have to send that information to our court administrator to be placed on a calendar in our municipal court to be heard before our judge. If someone passes that 30 or 60-day deadline, the ticket still stays, their right to appeal is waived, and at the time when it's their vehicle registration, they do not register, they go to register their vehicles, they won't be able to because they have an outstanding ticket.
Okay. And did you say it,
I'm sorry, did you still have the floor?
I did?
Oh, I apologize, go ahead.
Okay. Did you say that insurance will or will not be impacted? Will not?
It's not impacted.
Driver's
The insurance is
license.
not impacted, okay.
And the,
Yes, yes, okay. Okay, but only at that point. Yeah, okay, if I don't respond, okay.
Step up to the mic, sir, if you don't mind.
You still have an extra 5 days after the second. You got 60, 30, and then 5 more days.
Okay,
Because ultimately, if you're riding around without a tag, insurance get impacted, at some point it's gonna impact your life.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So at some point, you will get arrested
Yeah.
if your license gets suspended because you haven't dealt with all of this stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that's gonna be your lack of response,
yes, okay,
not the citation itself.
okay, all right, thank you for that.
And one other point, based on conversations with the vendor, this program probably wouldn't roll out into the FY 24-25 school year. So it is our intent to start an education campaign for our residents starting the early part of next year. In addition to that, we do have a little bit more leniency as far as warnings and notifying residents that they are entering a school zone. I know that Blue Line Solutions requires the signage, but some municipalities have gone even a step further by putting school zone on the pavement in bright colors. That way, in addition to the signage, as you're driving and you're entering the school zone, there's additional lettering on the roadway to let you know that you have officially entered the school zone.
Okay, and then my last question / comment is, I remember when the city of South Fulton rolled it out and relative to Rivertown Road and what's the school? Yes, EC West, yes. That, around that school. Part of the controversy was that you guys, Blue Line, if you were the ones, there were some errors. I don't know if it was in the software or in the way you communicated to them. I don't remember all of the controversy right now, but if I'm asking you, Mr. Phillips, and you, Ms. Chris, to just research that so that we're clear about exactly what happened, that we can avoid any of those mistakes.
So to the best of my recollection, one of the main issues is because you deal with elementary schools and middle schools, and they have different start times. In the beginning, when it rolled out, those start times were not posted, and so they were set at the same time. So you had individuals getting citations during the window where the school wasn't even open. I think it's an hour before school starts and then an hour after school starts. So then then they went back and started posting signage so you knew exactly what time that school started within that particular school zone. So I do know that that was one of the issues where it wasn't communicated on when each school zone would start because they started at different times.
Okay, well, great, thank you. Yes, I forgot you had,
In a previous item.
yes, yes, great. So that, what we can now learn from that experience. And also, there was another school north somewhere that had some issues as well. But if we can just know what the other issues have been for rollout, since this has been around a little bit, that would be helpful to us in avoiding that. Because the last thing, people are not going to be happy about this in the first place, and that coupled with any errors or bad public relation just makes everybody's life miserable. So, we want to work to avoid that.
And I think because we're starting this process early, we have more than enough time to coordinate with the local schools to inform them of its potential rollout so that they can educate the parents as well.
Okay, and then I'll just close with saying that the paramount reason for all of this is for the safety of our children.
Absolutely.
And that we have heard more times than not, children that have been severely injured and killed, unfortunately, which spurred the city of South Fulton to invest in this program as well. And we've had our own incident here in Fairburn, older children, but our kids nonetheless, dealing with the whole traffic issue because of speeding. So it is about changing behavior. So I do applaud that.
And I would just add one more thing.
I'm about to cut you short because our next item is going to require a lot of discussion as well. I'm gonna go ahead and yield to Mr. Smolders and Ms. Davis,
Yeah.
but we've got to rush it because the next item requires a lot of discussion. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. I was gonna add that comment about the time thing as well as put certain days off. They would call me and my principal, I'm like, wow, people calling to see were we in school that particular day, and that's what it was, because it was, in our particular zone, you know, school was out, but it was still, getting people, yep.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Ms. Davis, and then,
Okay. I just wanted to know, I don't know if we talked about this with all the discussions. What would be the percentage rate of revenue? What's going for? Has that been determined, or how is that determined?
So I don't know if we can make that determination. It depends on how many speeders we have during a particular speed zone. And so hopefully if we do our education correctly and we get it out to the masses, hopefully we have 0 speeders and then it's 0 revenue to the city, but I don't think that that's a number that can be determined at this time.
we'll come back with information about that. Let me just say this much as we close this segment out. As a person that actually got hit by a car on MLK in a school zone, it flipped 4 lanes and literally was, the people still can't believe I lived through that. It's important. I'm sorry, you know, and a lot of the questions is vast. It's great. At the end of the day, any kid being hit like myself that was in the hospital for almost 6 months as a result of that, we've got to do whatever it takes to make sure that another child doesn't get hit or get killed. So if we can, we have to transition because the next subject is going to require a lot of dialogue. Thank you, sir.
The next item is the residential solid waste collection, recycling, and disposable service.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I'm bringing to you a presentation for Mayor and Council to consider. Improve RFP number 23-010, residential solid waste collection, recycling, and disposal services for the city of Fairburn. The current citywide sanitation contract will expire December the 31st, 2023. RFP number 23-010, residential solid waste collection, recycling, and disposal service, was released on May the 26th, 2023. The proposals were due on July the 27th, 2023, in which the city received 5 proposals. An evaluation meeting was held on September the 11th, 2023. There were 3 evaluators, and all concurred to award the contract to Amwaste of Georgia LLC. At this time, I will introduce you to Mandy Renova, the Municipal and Government Contracts Manager for Amwaste, who will conduct today's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you are doing well. We're excited to be here this evening. Recognize some familiar faces. Probably recognize mine as well. I've definitely been in the city of Fairburn before, so I'm excited to be back. But we'll go ahead and start with the presentation. Next slide. So our leadership team comes to you with myself, Jason Zepp, and James Pearson. Between the 3 of us, we have 40 years of experience within the industry. As I stated, we've all operated right here within the region. I specifically have been placed right in the city of Fairburn with my previous role with another company. And so we feel very confident. We are very familiar with this service area. We're familiar with the services that need to be provided. And we're familiar with working with the city of Fairburn. Next slide. So Amwaste is positioned great. We've got our Noonan hauling location that we'd be running out of. We've got our LaGrange location in the event that we need to pull trucks up in the event something happened. We've got transfer stations and we've got disposal sites. So we're well integrated to be able to provide the service. We've got several municipal contracts within Georgia, neighboring cities including Tyrone. As I stated, we've got the city of Noonan. They just started January 1st with Amwaste, 12,500 homes. So definitely in a great position to be the solid waste provider for the city of Fairburn. Next slide. So as we approach this, if we are awarded the opportunity, we wanted to lay out a timeline, let you know exactly where we stand, give clear expectations, and be able to operate within that to roll out a very successful program starting January 2nd. So we immediately, once awarded, we're going to go ahead and start procuring trucks, procuring carts, and hiring our staff. We're going to start training that staff in October. make sure they are well-versed, very educated on the services that need to be provided, understand the obstacles they may face on the traffic and the service, being familiar with the patterns of the traffic, and learning the trends of the area. In November, we're going to have our customer literature ready for the city to review and get that rolled out. That way the education is there. We have plenty of time for questions. We can utilize the city's social media, any kind of websites that you guys can advertise it on. Make sure that that education is clear, consistent, and rolled out to the entire community. In November, we're also going to have our drivers out on the streets. They're going to be performing mock routes, looking for opportunities to study and educate, making sure they know those backdoor services, making sure they know those traffic patterns, becoming very familiar and aware of the service area that they're going to be servicing. In December, we'll request a meeting weekly with Public Works. We want to make sure that the communication is great. We want to make sure we're responsive. We want to make sure that any issues that come up during this transition, we can jump on. Again, we rolled this out with Noonan. We've met with them weekly, and it was a great transition. In December, we'll be rolling out the carts. Second week in December, they'll receive their cart. It's going to be tagged with the service day, and it's going to be tagged with an education packet. They'll have their cart with the service day on it. As you all know, transition is hard, but having that service day labeled on the cart is half the battle. It's half the people forget. They don't know. Is it trash? Is it recycling? Is it bulk? Is it yard waste? So we want to make sure it's right there. Go look at your can. That's your service day. If you get a recycle can, it'll have your service day labeled on it as well. And then finally, the last few weeks, we'll be tidying up any last-minute requests. We may not know that they need a backdoor service. The phone call comes in. We'll be able to get our system updated, make sure that's communicated to the drivers, make sure the route sheets are updated, and all the education is placed for that service. Next slide. So what we are proposing may give you initially some heartburn, but just stay with me and listen to what our proposal. We're proposing 4 service days on trash. And the reason we are proposing that is because by being able to spread out the service over 4 days allows for the drivers to be dedicated to the route, dedicated to the service, and being observant and performing safety. By having one truck or one service day, you've got a lot of assets you've got to deploy into one area at one time. The drivers are rushing through because they've got to get 1,200 stops picked up versus what we would propose, which is 550 to 600 stops per driver. So it gives them the opportunity to truly own the route, own the service, be professional, and first, be safe. We just heard our presentation on safety. Our first commitment is safety as well as the bulk service would be designated the first and third Monday of the month. The resident does not have to call in. They will be educated. They can place their bulk out without a phone call to the city and know every month it's available the first and third Monday. The yard waste will follow the same routes in regards to the service day. It'll be Monday through Thursday, picked up weekly. Your recycling, we are going to do our absolute best to make sure those service days match up. It'll be a Monday through Thursday, every other week service. But again, they'll have that cart that's labeled with their service day. We'll get them a schedule highlighting the weeks of service for recycling because we all know we forget what week are we on. Are we on the second week, the fourth week, the third week? So we want to make sure the education is clear. When we send out our literature, we'll make sure that is included as well. So again, the benefits are safety. The benefits are they're not rushing through the route. The driver truly owns the route. He's educated on the route. He can stay focused. He can learn the patterns. And then if we do Monday through Thursday, we don't have any service rolling over into the weekend. So if your holiday is Monday and your service is pushed forward, if your last weekly service day is Thursday, you'll always be picked up on Friday. You don't have a Saturday service. So Mr. Martin isn't getting calls on Saturday asking about service. The city isn't flooded with calls about service on Saturday. Our drivers, our employees, aren't working on Saturday, we give them that weekend to be with their family, because that is ultimately important. They need an opportunity to refresh and regain their confidence before the next week starts. Next slide. So this is a sample of the literature that we'd send out. This is just the front side on the left-hand side. So we would send out a literature that gives your start date, your service day, your acceptable items, non-acceptable items, instructions on what to do if you need a second cart, instructions on what to do if you have bulk service. So if we had an opportunity to look at the back of this flyer, it individually will list out trash, recycling, bulk, and yard waste. And it provides plenty of education and opportunity for the resident to understand the service that would be presented to them. The can, that's your picture. That's what your can's gonna look like. Bright yellow lid, sticker right on top, telling you what your service day is. And that's rolled out with every can that goes out to your residents. Next slide. So customer service. Customer service is important to the city of Fairburn. It's super important to me. It's super important to AmWaste. Just my background, I was a regional customer service manager, so I have personally implemented some of these things that are on the slide because customer service is so important. So we do quarterly call center training. We make sure that we either bring in a professional trainer or we have our customer service manager training that staff. We monitor every call that comes in. Every call can be pulled, it can be reviewed. It allows an opportunity to either correct that behavior or educate the customer. We have a dedicated customer service rep that would be dedicated to the city of Fairburn. They're accessible via email, and they're accessible via phone. If they call into the call center, it'll say press 1 as an example for Fairburn. That call will go directly to that dedicated contract administrator. In the event the call volume is heavy, it'll roll over to our call center. Our call center will be trained on all the scope of service for the city of Fairburn. So there won't be, well, I don't know, I'm not familiar with that area. Let me go check with this person. They'll have their playbook right in front of them. They'll have all the services listed. They'll know how to educate the customer if they've got them on the phone. In addition to the trucks and the customer service, we've got live video footage available. We've got a camera inside the cab. We've got a camera outside the cab. And we have a camera at the automated arm. There's plenty of footage available that's available to the city, and that's available to our customer service, and that's available to all the operations team with the district manager and the VP and myself. So everyone has transparent view of what's happening. As we know, there's lots of opportunity where the customer says, hey, they didn't pick up my trash. We can pull the footage, the city can pull the footage, we can educate the customer exactly what happened. Additionally, GPS. It tells you exactly what time they were there. It's tracking that truck from the time it leaves the lot till the time it gets back home. Lastly, in the event we have any issues, and let's hope we don't, but if we have one, we have what we call a hot list. That hot list is tracked and managed by the district manager. Our customer service team has notification on that address that it's on a hot list, and we're going to keep that on that hot list for 4 weeks. We're going to make sure we resolve that. We're going to make sure that those 4 weeks, there's clear communication to the driver. The expectation is to improve the behavior that was not approved of by the resident or the city, and make sure that we handle those every week. Again, customer service is super important. It's highly personal to me. You know, I've been in a call center that didn't do well, and so I know what needs to happen to make it run well. Next slide, please. Again, customer service. So just kind of explaining trucks, what that mentions up there. So trucks is our software where the customer data is entered. Trucks also has the capability of holding footage, notes, pictures, so that that can be referenced in the event customer service needs that. The other information, like I said, we do have a dedicated contracts administrator available Monday through Friday, phone access by prompt, email directly between the city, and it is our hope to be able to have a portal in place by the time we roll this out, if awarded. So we would have a portal between the contractor and the city to submit requests, and then the contractor can respond back to those requests. So everything is tracked, it's noted, monthly reports are available, there's clear transparency on, let's say, 123 Smith Street, how many requests came in for that month, how was it handled, how was it resolved? The city can see it, the contractor can see it. Again, we'll make sure that our customer service reps are trained outside of just the contract administrator. Next slide. Technology, kind of touched on it a bit already, but GPS tracking, every truck has it. So in the event that arrive on the lot, truck's down, they'll get into a truck, we'll plug it in, it can still be tracked. There's not an issue of, oh, well, it's not your regular truck, we don't know what happened. It's not your regular truck, we don't know what time they were there. Every truck has GPS, every truck will be tracked. The video camera system, again, there's one in the cab, making sure there's safe behavior going on within the cab. There's one outside the cab, and there's one on the arm for the automated arm picking up the can. Next slide. Fleet tracking. So just an example. So you can see the picture with the view. That's what going outside the cab. It's tracking them like a breadcrumb. It's showing stops. It's showing where they left, what time they arrived back. The operations team has clear view on the truck while they're out on the route, making sure that it's an efficient and effective service that we're providing, and we're being productive throughout the day. Next slide. GPS tracking history. Again, you can see from the point they left the landfill to the point they arrived back. It tracks it like a breadcrumb, shows every stop that they've made along the way. If they break for route and go to the landfill, if they break for lunch, it dictates and shows all that. Again, you've got your camera footage that's always available. Rate proposal. So this is a service that I think has an opportunity for improvement. And as we all know, you get sometimes what you pay for. So we are proposing a superior service level. We feel confident that with this rate, the residents will understand the service expectations improve, the safety in the community is there, you don't have the leaking trucks, you don't have the unprofessional behavior, you have gentlemen and ladies inside the truck that are in uniforms that can be identified, and they have professional behavior. So we have weekly trash service. Backdoor service is optional for those who it's made available for. I believe that's the medical, disabled, and elderly, I believe. No additional cost. No additional cost to them. Twice a month recycling, weekly yard waste, twice a month bulk. We are offering a royalty fee back to the city. So once a month, we will get a customer count or a resident count. Anyone who has active service, we will pay that back to the city against the invoice. So we'll bill you for your customer base, and then we'll pay a royalty fee back of $1 per home. So as an example, if there's 4,500 homes for the month that are active, we'll rebate back or revenue share back $4,500 a month. That'll come off the rate of the invoice that's billed directly to the city from the contractor. We're a community partner. We will provide complimentary service to all of your events. Mr. Martin and I have already spoke about the events. We want to make sure that we're in there providing the service, dedicating drivers, giving roll-offs, providing trash cans, picking up trash, whatever that looks like. We're a community partner. We want to be there. Next slide. And here's a few events where we've been a community partner. We've had the opportunity to participate in cleanups in Clayton County. We've had the opportunity to work with police forces in other cities and counties. We've had opportunities to participate in golf outings. Family matters to us. Family is important. We want our staff to be a part of your community. And when closing, I will take any questions.
Let me do this because you're going to run out of time before we can get out of questions and answers. Let me do this, Mr. City Administrator, if you don't mind, since the item is on the agenda. Would you brief the council on the information we talked about in this office as it relates to how did we get to this point of having to rebid the project? I think you're going to end up having to say this again in the regular meeting, but I think it's imperative that council understands how we got here.
Thank you, Mayor. As council members may recall, with our previous service provider, there were a number of concerns. And we worked diligently and tried to get through those concerns as much as possible. We saw some moderate improvement, but you know the history as well as I do that we had a lot of challenges in that area. Throughout that process, there were a couple of different management team changes, but what had been consistent in our dialogue with the previous provider is that they were concerned about the rate that they were receiving for their service. The original contract, I believe, dates back to 2018 with the previous provider, and they had been able to get several CPI increases. The contract, as you may recall, included a provision where the consumer price index is used as a measurement to allow them to have yearly increases. So they had gotten several of those, but their base rate was essentially the same as when the contract started. Since that time, we'd gone through COVID, costs had gone up significantly, and so the previous provider had indicated that they were not confident they would continue to provide the service at that rate because they were, by their explanation, not making a profit. We anticipated that that would be a challenge, and so we started moving forward looking at procurements. Eventually, we received a letter from the previous provider in writing indicating that they were choosing the option to terminate the contract, which is scheduled to terminate on December 31st of this year anyway, because they could no longer provide the service at the previous rate. Naturally, our response to that was a procurement. Anytime we're doing a service of this scope and size citywide, it would require us to go out for a procurement, which is what we did, which led us to the process and brought us to where we are today. There were 5 vendors. I think Mr. Martin covered some of this. We had an entire selection process managed by our procurement manager, Ms. Little. And so that's just kind of the context as to how we're at the juncture today. The previous contract was not sustainable, and so we went through our standard procurement process.
And so, members of council, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions as it relates to the meat and potatoes of this particular type of procurement, we'll actually, instead of having questions in the workshop, it'll actually bring them to the regular agenda. The part I want to make sure that members of council understood is that we were basically, again, like it's been a while since we've been talking about this, but we were basically put in a position where we had to make sure that as a government, in this case for your review, that we explore every option available with us not even anticipating with GFL actually sent this in writing, and that was a major rate increase. So simultaneously, I'm going to say lucky, it's called forecasting. We forecasted basically that probability of this company going up and their price was coming. So the position was simple. We actually put it out on the market, and we had no way to know through the request for proposal process. We had no way of knowing who would win until you got to that stage. But ultimately, in this case, as a result of the vendor notifying us of their intent to basically, in this case, to simply increase up to market standard pricing, which is what the issue came up with for regardless of who the vendor is. And so our position was, after we put it out for proposal, the request for proposal process went through, the evaluation went through, and now basically this was deemed the most qualified vendor based on all the, normally it's about 5 to 6 categories. I apologize, the 5 categories. Yes, normally between 5 to 6 categories, and which includes cost is one of them, but it's not the primary factor. And ultimately, this company actually ended up scoring the highest as it relates to the request for proposal process. I didn't, Mr. Martin, if you got anything you want to add before, I'm going to close after your comment because the item is on the agenda, so members of council can ask any question they want, but I thought it was important that you understand as a governing body how we got here. Go ahead, sir.
No comment at this time, Mayor.
Okay, so what we'll do, if you don't mind, members of council, I've got literally 7 minutes till the hour. We'll start at 7 o'clock sharp. And I entertain them? Well, we're not in motion. We're adjourned right now until 7 o'clock.
Okay.